4.
A year ago, and my longtime Twitter peeps may remember it because, of course, almost getting run over by a car is something you're obligated to live tweet. So one afternoon, after a long day of being a workaholic shut-in, I decided to stop off at my local grocery store. And those that know me know that I'm very creepy. I'm very observant. I like to people watch sometimes, usually to get ideas for characters and stories. And this particular day, as I was walking in the grocery store, I came across a remarkable-looking gentleman. This is important to the story, trust me. He was tall, round, wore rectangular glasses, was kind of thinning up top, and had a very distinct broom mustache. For the animation nerds out there, kind of like Eric Goldberg, only taller and less cuddly. I made a small mental note about him and carried on with my shopping. When I was done, I paid and walked my basket out the front doors. So this parking lot was set up like most grocery store parking lots, rows of spaces with handicapped spaces in the front. I started walking down my row to get to my car when I noticed a very nice Mustang sitting in the first handicapped spot. I'm not a car person, but this was one of those cars that anybody would stop and admire. It was black, it had red stripes going down the center. Very nice. But a nice car does not make a nice person. I started walking by this Mustang, keeping my distance at about 8 feet. And there was no indication that anybody was in this car. The lights weren't on, the engine wasn't running, nothing. And I couldn't see in there because all the windows were blacked out. I was about 3/4 the way behind this car when I heard it. And with reckless abandon, this car shot out of the parking spot heading right for me. I shoved my basket and dove out of the way, and I'm talking like an inch this guy missed me by. I felt the wind of it go by. I fell forward and caught myself hard on that basket. The force of the fall was enough to rip my lace leggings right at the knees. You don't believe me? Here's a picture. Those were mildly expensive. Oh, and the driver also could have killed me, or at least seriously maimed me. I realized I probably should have just ditched the basket and made a run for it, but it all happened so fast that my brain could only think, move perpendicular to this oncoming force. If the basket's in the way, take it with you. Just move! Ah! So I narrowly dodged the car and picked myself back up, but what was so funny was how scatterbrained confused I was. What do I do about this? Was it my fault? No, definitely his fault. He should apologize. But do I just walk away, let it go? Was it an accident? Did he do it on purpose? Is he an assassin? Do I express my outrage with an appropriate lewd hand gesture? But I was in such a state of shock that I just kept walking. I made it to my car, still coming down from that adrenaline high, when suddenly the Mustang pulled up behind me and stopped. The window rolled down, and guess who it was? Broomstache Man! He said, "Hey, I didn't mean to scare you. I just didn't see you." Okay, first off, he said it in such a tone that it sounded like he was blaming me. And second, you didn't see me? Really? Listen, I know I'm not particularly tall, but I'm not an 8-year-old. Well, mentally the jury's out on that one, but I am a cool 5'6", thank you very much. You can see me. Clearly proven by the fact that you saw that you almost hit me, otherwise you wouldn't have said anything. I was still so shaken and also a little bit angry by this point that all I could say was, okay. Alright. Bye. And he raced off. Huh, cad. You just wait until I tweet about this. But oh, frabjous day, Kalu Kale, the story does not end there. It gets better. I was on my way home, still trying to process all that had happened, and, oh dear viewers, guess who I saw on the side of the road pulled over by the police? Broomstache! Oh! The popo got your number, bro. Oh Lord, I do believe I'm coming down with a case of justice. That is what you get. That is what you get, homeboy! Wait a minute. Where are my groceries?
Wait.
Aside on the part of the creator.
Ah, the backyard. The personal wonderland of suburban kids everywhere. A place of Hello, my geeks and peeps, my explainers and entertainers, my little oodalollies. Rebecca Parham here. Even when I was young, I never understood the type of kid who did stupid, dangerous things for fun or attention. My grandfather, who was a rocket scientist for the Air Force, used to say that a mark of intelligence was understanding cause and effect. If I jump off of this very high rock into very shallow water, there is a high probability that I will break something important and possibly do permanent damage to my frail human body. Maybe the admiration of my peers isn't worth risking my entire future as a just kidding yeet! I wasn't one of those kids. Not even close. I was the terrified one in the corner who had to muster up courage just to ask for the hall pass. So it's a jolly good wonder how I ended up in this precarious predicament that I'm about to describe to you. Let's rewind the clock, shall we? Hey, middle school Becca, you're up. The year was 6th grade. Still doing the preparatory school thing and still very much a loner geek obsessed with Pokemon video games and cartoons. But around this time, I did manage to make one friend for a short while. She was in the grade above me, which I thought made me so cool. At this school, you didn't make friends outside your grade. You stuck to your own kind. So the fact that an older girl wanted to be friends not only made me feel special, but it made me feel like I was getting away with something. We'll call her Kay. And looking back, it's pretty clear to me why we got along so well. While I personally thought she was one of the cool kids, she was clearly the loner weirdo geek in her own class. Proof that perspective is everything. Maybe one day I'll be as cool as her. She also liked Pokemon and video games and was really good at Super Smash Bros., the original. She's also the one who taught me the infamous item duplication glitch in Pokemon Red and Blue. So, yeah. The geek was strong with this one. One day, Kay invited me over to her house for a sleepover. Now, you have to remember, at this point in my life, my family lived out in the country, so most of the kids at school did too. And Kay's house was on a very big piece of property. Many, many acres and far away from any neighbors. Levels of seclusion that made you wonder what the hell the parents were up to. Anyways, she and I were having a lovely old sleepover, and I wasn't going to be picked up until the afternoon of the next day. So we had lots of time to kill. After a very full night of trading Pokemon and playing all 12 characters in Smash, we were enjoying breakfast when her parents came in. They told us they were going to the farthest stretches of their property to work on a new house they were building. Right, new house. Gotcha. I'm ignoring the shovels and suspicious tarp. 1 second after Kay's parents closed the door behind them, she turned to me and gave me one of those looks that said, I'm about to drag you into something you're gonna regret. You wanna go out on the roof? Go what, do, where now? Kay's house was 2 stories, but the second story was a lot smaller than the first, and via a window on the second floor, one could easily slip out and parkour to their little heart's content all over the first story roof. Kay took us up to the second story, opened the window that would lead to the roof, and said, Don't worry, I've done this lots of times, and nothing bad ever happened. Well, she did appear to be alive, so I guess there was a good chance she didn't ever die from going out on the roof, and I was not about to turn yellow-bellied in front of my cool older friend. So I followed her outside onto the roof, and just as we both made it out, she said, See, it's all fine, just as long as we don't close the... window. I really hope you went to the bathroom before this. Turns out, the window locked automatically whenever it was closed, and no amount of us trying was getting it to budge. Now, modern innovation would make this a non-problem, because everybody and their grandmother has cell phones that might as well be implanted into our hands. But back then, you didn't get a cell phone until you were like a teenager, if you were lucky, and whatever phone you did get was just that, a phone. Not a mini computer with access to a literal world of distractions and activities. So even if I did have a phone back then, chances are I wouldn't be carrying it on me anyways. So that meant we were stuck on a roof with no one else around. I vote you jump. If your legs aren't broken, go back in the house and open the window. Neither of us were going to jump. First off, it would have been stupid. Secondly, her house was on a hillside with lots of jagged rocks. So if you jumped, you weren't just going to fall 12 feet. You were going to hit and then tumble down a steep rocky hill. So, you know, might get a boo-boo. There were trees around us, but none of them were close enough for us to climb down. And if my childhood bully friend Jocko taught me anything, it's that twigs have a weight-bearing limit. Our next option? Scream! Kay's parents were working on a house over a mile away. So all we 2 middle school girls had to do was create the same level of decibels as a rock concert in order to just barely be heard at that distance. Yeah. Surprise, surprise. 10 minutes of screaming didn't do anything. It just made us a little hoarse. So we couldn't jump, we couldn't climb, and we couldn't